Long lead times, unpredictable demand, and the constant pressure to meet production goals, these are the daily challenges for manufacturers. But what if you had a tool to help you stay ahead of demand, manage your procurement, and avoid production delays? My name is Charlotte, I am a manufacturing expert at Odoo, and today we are going to see together how Odoo can help you anticipate future needs thanks to the master production schedule. In order to do so, I am first going to come back on some key concepts, and then we will deep dive in an Odoo database. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them on the pad linked to this QR code, and I will go through them at the end of this presentation. So I will let you a few seconds to scan it. First, what is the master production schedule, or as I will call it throughout this presentation, the MPS? Well, the MPS is a replenishment tool that aims to give a long-term overview of actual and forecasted demand and replenishment of your products. It's designed for production planners to keep control over long-term production plans and future procurements. It's the perfect tool to follow seasonality in your planning when you have some variability in your demand. But how does it fit in the replenishment strategy of Odoo? Well, if you are a bit familiar with Odoo, you will know that we have several ways to replenish a product in the system. So before deep diving into the MPS, let's recap these different methods. First, we have the MTO, make to order, which is a method that is based on actual orders, which means that you will only start the replenishment once you have a concrete order from your customer. It's good if you want to avoid having high storage costs or if you have custom products. In that case, traceability is key, so you have a direct link between the customer demand and the replenishment. Then we have the reordering rules. For some products, you will want to keep a certain amount available at any time in your inventory. So creating a reordering rule allows you to automate the replenishment following a just-in-time strategy. It's good to use it if you have a steady demand for your products or if you want to keep a safety stock. And lastly, our core focus of the day, the MPS, that you can use if you have an irregular demand, seasonal products, long lead times, and in that case, it won't be based on actual orders, but rather on forecasts that you will input manually in the master production schedule. But remember, no matter what you choose, one product should equal one replenishment method. So coming back to the MPS, how does it work exactly in Odoo? Well, in Odoo, it looks like this. So the first thing you will need to do is to decide on which time range you want to display your products. It can be days, weeks, months, or even years. And what is now new in version 18 is that you can directly select the time range from the MPS, and so it will adapt the forecasted demand accordingly from a period to another. Then, once it's done, you can add the products that you want to follow, and by adding your product, you will be able to decide the parameters that you want to track, such as, obviously, your products, a bill of material if you produce it, a safety stock target, a minimum and maximum to replenish. And from version 18, we have some new parameters that you can fulfill here as well, such as first, the indirect demand checkbox, which is a checkbox that allows you to specify that this product is an indirect demand coming from another product. The route, so you can now specify the route that you want to follow for this product. It can be useful if, for instance, you manufacture in-house a product, but sometimes you want to buy it from a subcontractor. And a batch size. So it means that you can define here a batch size when you replenish. So let's say that you want to always replenish by batch of 10 units, then you can specify it there. Once it's done, you can then decide what you want to display on your MPS. So first, you can decide which rows you want to make appear, such as the actual and forecasted demand, actual and suggested replenishment, the starting inventory, forecasted stock, and so on. And what is brand new here is that now you have new filters that will help you to clean a little bit the view that you have here, such as first the to forecast button that will only display the product that you want to track with a forecasted demand, and the indirect demand that will only show the products that have the indirect demand checkbox checked, so for instance, the components of your finished products. And lastly, we have also a new replenishment trigger that is brand new from version 18. So for each product, you can decide if you want to replenish them manually from the MPS, automatically, or never. Automatically, Odoo will launch a scheduler once a day, and it will trigger the replenishment based on your lead times, of course. And never, it means that it will never be replenished from your MPS. So for instance, for the products that have the indirect demand checkbox checked. But enough here with the talking, and let's see how it goes in Odoo. So today we are a company that is named Odoo, and we are manufacturing chocolates. What characterizes us is that we have long lead times for our components because we like to resupply at the source. Next to the product that we produce on a daily basis, we also like to prepare some special surprises depending on the time of the year. And as we are approaching Christmas, we have now launched a brand new product, which is our Advent calendar that is containing different chocolates for every day of the month. So let's see in Odoo how we can manage the forecasted demand for that product. So here I am on my Odoo database, and the first thing I will need to check is my product. So I'm going to enter my manufacturing app in products, and I will see here that I have my finished product, which is my Advent calendar. I have some semi-finished as well as some components. But let's have a look at my bill of material for my finished product. I'm going to go here on my bill of material. I'm going to open it here, and I will see that in order to produce 1 unit of Advent calendar, I will need to use 3 components: a frame, some chocolates, and a ribbon. But what will really interest us is to look at our miscellaneous tab and to check what are our lead times. So actually here, in order to produce 1 unit, I will need 2 days. So my manufacturing lead time is of 2 days, but I need 28 days to prepare my manufacturing order. So it's 28 days to replenish all the components that I need to start the manufacturing of my Advent calendar. And if I want to have a detailed overview of all my bill of material, I'm going to click on Bill of Material Overview. I'm going to here click on Unfold, and I will see all the details. So I can see that I have my finished product here, my 3 components: the frame, the chocolate, and the ribbon. Each component has itself some components, so I have a bomb inside a bomb, and I can check here my lead times. So I see that for my Advent calendar, I have 30 days, which makes sense because I need 2 days to manufacture it and 28 days to resupply the components. Then I can see that I have 6 days in order to manufacture the frame, and further here below to buy the ribbon. But I can notice that the long lead times come from the chocolate because I need 26 days to resupply from my supplier. So let's try to keep those lead times in mind to see how it will impact our MPS. So that's good. Now I want to start to forecast the demand for this product. I'm going to enter here my planning here by going to my master production schedule. And I can see now that I have nothing yet, but no problem. I'm just going to add my product. So I'm going to add here my Advent calendar like this. And here the thing is, I want to track my finished product with a forecasted demand, but I don't want to track my components with a forecasted demand, but I still would like to see how the indirect demand is impacted for my components. So I'm still going to show here my Advent calendar, my bill of material. And the last thing I want to change is my safety stock target, because let's say that I want to have for each time period 10 units available. So I'm going to put 10 here. And that's good, I'm going to save it. Once I have done that, I will see that I have a lot of information in front of my eyes. So let's try to understand what we have here. First, on the left, I will see that I have my finished product, my Advent calendar. And below, I can find back my 3 components, so the chocolate, the frame, and the ribbon. If I checked the configuration for the components, I will see that they all have the indirect demand checkbox checked, as Odoo automatically detects that their demand depends on the one of the Advent calendar. What I can also notice is that my replenishment trigger is never. So it means that by default, my components, I will never replenish them from my MPS, but I can obviously change this trigger. So let's say that I want to track from my MPS my chocolate. I can put it as manual or automated, but I will let it at never for now. So that's good, I have my product. And now I can already use my filters in order to see a more clean MPS. So I can check here my to forecast filter. And if I check it, I will only see the advent calendar because this is the only product that I will track with a forecasted demand, as opposition to the indirect demand filter here that will only display my components. So here I don't see my advent calendar. And I can already check my to replenish filter to see if I need to replenish something, but obviously, as I didn't put any forecasted demand, then I don't see anything. What I can see as well is that here I have different columns that represent the weeks. So here I will put a forecast per week, and I can see here that for each week I have some information. The first line here will be the forecasted stock I have as a state starting inventory for each week. I can see that I have 10 for each week because I put a safety stock of 10. I want to have 10 units available when I start my week. And then I can also notice that I can here have my actual demand from last year. As I'm launching a new product, I don't have any data, but it will be very useful next year to compare the demand from the year before. What I can see as well here is that I have already some numbers that I can see in green, such as 16 here, 22, 30, 38, which is actually my actual demand for that product for that specific week. So if I click on it, I will find here the delivery order for my amazing customer that is planned to be delivered in a month, more or less. So here, those numbers can already give me a good overview of the demand that will be increasing with my sales order that are confirmed. But me, I really want to work with my forecast. So I'm going to meet with the procurement, the production, the sales team, and we get along on some forecasts for the next coming weeks. So I'm going to start by fulfilling my forecasted demand for the month of November. As I can see here, and I hope you can see clearly with the colors, we have yellow cells here, which represent my forecasted demand. So let's say that we think that we will sell here 50 units for the week 46, then 60 for the week 47, and 70 for the week 48. So now I put in my forecasted demand. But what's happening? There are several things that we can notice. The first thing is that automatically Odoo puts my here forecasted demand as a suggested replenishment for the same week. So Odoo will calculate automatically how much I should replenish based on that. But if I check my to replenish filter here, I see that I don't need to replenish yet anything. And why is that? It's because of our lead times. So if we remember correctly, we had a lead time of around 1 month to produce my advent calendar, which means that here, if I want to have some forecast in my week 46, I am still a bit early to start the replenishment. Otherwise, I will need to store it in my inventory, which I want to avoid. What I can also notice is that by putting some forecasted demand, I have automatically some indirect demand that is fulfilled here for my chocolate, for my fringe, for my ribbon. And I can notice that they are not in the same week as my demand for my finished products. Again, why is that? If we remember correctly, in order to produce my advent calendar, I need 2 days. And then I need 28 days to replenish my components. Which means that when I enter, for instance, 70 units here as a forecast demand for my advent calendar, it means that I want these units to be ready and produced for the first day of the time range in which I am. So here it would be for the Monday of that week, so the 25th of November. And so if those units need to be ready, it means that I need to start producing them 2 days earlier. It means the week before. And as I need my components to be ready, this is why I can see that my indirect demand is coming here on the week before for each forecast that I put it here on my forecasted demand. So now I'm good, I put it some forecasted demand, I'm gonna continue to fulfill them, and I'm gonna fulfill for the month of October. So let's say that I plan here to have a forecasted demand of 20 units for my week 43 and 30 here for the week 44. What I can notice now is that my cells are automatically turning green. This is because we have a color code in Odoo, and if your cells are green, it means that you need to replenish them today, otherwise you're gonna be late. So before, we didn't add any color, so we didn't have to do anything, but now I should replenish in order to meet the forecasted demand on time. And if I check my filter to replenish, I will see that indeed Odoo tells me that I should replenish my advent calendar. So let's go, we can replenish it. And in order to replenish my product, I have several ways to do it. I can either do it manually, so I can click here on Order next to the replenishment, and it will only replenish the specific product I'm looking at. I can also click here on Order on the top left, and it will replenish all the green cells of my MPS. Obviously, here I only have one product, but it could be several ones. And now we can also automate that. So once my cells are green, Odoo will run a scheduler, and once a day, it will trigger the replenishment that are needed. And if I want to, I can also click on Planning here, Master Production Schedule, and if I am in debug mode, I will see that I have a Run Scheduler button that I don't see here, but that will allow me to manually run it to have my replenishment triggered. But now I'm going to do it manually from my Order button here. So I'm going to click on it. And now what I can see is that I am back in my gray status, so I don't have any colors. So I know that I don't need to do anything, so my replenishment match the demand, it's good. What I can see as well here is that I have now some actual replenishment that were automatically created. So here I have 20 for the week 43 and 30 for the week 44. If I click on them, I will see the related manufacturing orders or purchase orders for that demand, and I can click on it, and I will see my manufacturing order. As I can see, now it should start in 17 days, and if I open it, I will have a more precise overview about the dates. So I can see that my schedule end is for the 21st, so the Monday of the week I plan my forecast, and I should start it on the 19th of October, which is 2 days earlier because we have 2 days manufacturing lead time. So here I can also open all my manufacturing orders, and I will see that I have 2 manufacturing orders, the one we have just looked at, and the other ones for 30 units here. And I can check that this one should start in 24 days and be finished in 26 days. So here we have looked at our finished products, but what's happening for our components? Well, as I said, you can choose whatever replenishment you want for every product. So we could decide to replenish the components as well from the master production schedule, but we could also use reordering rule or simply look at our replenishment dashboard from inventory. So let's check what we need to replenish in terms of components now. So I'm going to go here in my inventory, in my operation, and I'm going to find here my replenishment. What I will see is only the products that I need to replenish today in order to meet the dates and the lead times. So I can see that I should replenish the chocolate, otherwise I'm going to be late. But if we remember correctly, we had 3 components on my bill of material. We had a ribbon and a frame, but we don't see them here. Why is that? Because they had shorter lead times, so it means that if I order them now, I will need to keep them a bit in my inventory, and it costs money, so I want to avoid that. But now, thanks to the version 18 and the new Horizon button, we can have an overview of what we will need to replenish in X days. So for now, I am in time 0, so today I can see I just need to replenish the chocolate. But let's say I want to be sure that everything is set up, so I want to check in 15 days how much I will need to replenish and from which product. So I'm going to enter here 15 days. And I will see that now I have 2 new lines, which are my 2 other components. So I can already see in advance that in 2 weeks, I will need then to replenish those products, which can give me a nice overview of the future of my replenishment. But let's come back here on my manufacturing operations here. I have 2 manufacturing orders, but let's say that our production manager comes to us and say that we have an issue with our machine, the production line is broken, so we need to delay those production orders because we're going to be late and we cannot work this week on them. So here, no worries, I can just simply change the schedule date and put it a week later, no worries. So I'm going to here put 1 week more for each of them. Like this. And if I'm going back here on my 2 manufacturing orders, I can see now that they should start in 24 days and 31 days for each, so 1 week later. That's good, but how did it impact my MPS? So let's come back on my planning master production schedule. So now I can see that I have some new colors. Maybe you won't see it clearly, but we can see that the suggested replenishment here for the week 43 and 44 is now in orange, while it is in red for the week 45. So let's try to understand what happened here. If we remember, we put it here, a forecasted demand of 20 for the week 43 and 30 for the week 44. So we replenished accordingly. So we had an actual replenishment of 20 and 30 here for the week 44. However, we switched the dates of our manufacturing orders, and therefore the actual replenishment is now for the week 44 and the week 45 here. So it got delayed of 1 week. This is why now, if I check my week 43, I still have my forecasted demand of 20, but I don't have any actual replenishment, which means that my replenishment is too low. And this is why the orange means, it means that my replenishment is too low, so I should replenish more. And if we check at the opposite, my week 45, we don't have any forecast yet, but we have an actual replenishment of 30 units, which means that we replenished too much compared to what we had forecasted. So here I could decide to just let it like this, but I can also decide to correct it a little bit for my actual replenishment to match my forecasted demand. So I can just here simply put 0 on my forecasted demand, put 20 here, and 30 on my week 45, and now I can see that my forecasted demand then match the actual replenishment for those periods. And now I am back in my status quo, everything is in gray, I don't need to do anything, so I can continue to work on my forecasted demand for each time range and see how Odoo can propose a related replenishment for that. In conclusion, Odoo's MPS allows us to have a clear view on future demands and to have a more proactive replenishment management. This ensures that production meets market needs while fostering a better collaboration between teams, sales, procurement, production. They can all work together in order to use real-time data to make informed decisions. All in all, I can now make sure that the right products are ready when needed. Thank you for your listening, and I will go now for your question.
Thank you, Charlotte, for the presentation. From the questions we have, how do sale orders get consumed from the forecast?
So you can see the sales orders that are actually confirmed. They will be in the actual demand, but they won't be consumed. So you need to enter manually the forecast demand that you plan to have. Usually it will be then bigger than the actual order, but the sales order won't have any impact from the MPS.
All right. Is it possible to import data into the MPS?
Yes, it's possible. You can prepare a template and import the product with the related forecasted demand for each time range, weeks, days, years, and so on. So it's possible. Yeah.
Okay. How about different time ranges per product? Is it possible?
So you can only have one time range at a time on the MPS. So the thing is that you will select on the settings the general time range that you want to follow. So it can be days, weeks, month, or year. But then on the MPS, you can choose to change it, but you cannot have several ones per product at a time.
It's about the forecast. How does the forecast propagate into multi-level bombs?
So here, as we have seen, we had one level. So if you put a forecast, then it will impact your indirect demand. But you could add another sub-bombs. But for that, you need to add the sub-products and its bomb as well, so that it enters in your MPS.
All right. Can Odoo easily calculate the average sales per week from historical data to use as a forecasted demand?
Well, Odoo won't really calculate it. What you can see is that you can have the demand from last year or last 2 years, so it will take the sales order and delivery orders for those time, and then starting for that, you can then use your forecasted demand to fill it up manually.
It's a short one. How will scrap parts be recognized by MPS?
The scrap part?
Yeah.
I'm not sure to understand really the use case, but we can discuss it afterwards on the booth.
Okay. Can we get the full image with the sub-product also, and their components needed time?
If you mean with all the sub-bonds, then you can come to the booth and we can do an example together.
Okay. Let me read out the last question for you. Is delaying an MO schedule date update the SO and notify the sales team? Is it possible to configure that?
I guess it would depend on if you are in MT or not. The MO doesn't have any link with the SO. You don't have a direct link from the MPS, so it won't impact the SO deadline. Yeah.
All right, with the time running out, that's it for the questions, Charlotte.
Okay,
Thank you so much.
Thank you.